welcome to our webinar today, where we're going to be talking about converting a classroom-based qualification course to e-learning, which will be myself from Virtual College. I'm Sophie Thornton. I'm a Learning Technology Manager, and we'll be talking with DPG, who we created this course with. So, an agenda for today. We will, first of all, we'll give some introductions and some background as to both of the companies. We'll be looking at, in essence, why the course was converted from a face-to-face session. We'll be looking at the challenges and the successes that we dealt with. We'll be looking at the content itself, and then we'll conclude the session and we'll welcome some questions from all of you at the end. So to give a bit of background about Virtual College, we're a full-service digital learning solutions provider, and we've actually been around for over 20 years. There are three main strands to our business. We have off-the-shelf ready-made courses, we have our proprietary LMS, and we also do a huge amount of bespoke content development. We've always been based in Ilkley, West Yorkshire, and we employ over 160 people. You can probably see on the right-hand side a picture of the Ilkley Mall, which is actually what we can see from our offices. We've got over 3 million learners currently with us, which is a huge milestone for us. And as I said before, we've got over 20 years experience. On the next slide, we'll look at some of the awards that we've won. We've won quite a few awards, most recently, Learning Technology Supplier of the Year 2017. We also won that in 2016, and we also won 1,000 Companies to Inspire Britain last year as well. We've got a Gold Award in Best Training Partnership with the Home Office at the Training Journal Awards. And we also won Gold for Excellence in Design of Learning Content at Learning Technologies. These two awards are really key for us because it's not just for us as a company, but the projects and content that we've created, specifically those were on recognising and preventing FGM, which we created in conjunction with the Home Office, which was really, really brilliant news for us. So if DPG wants to give a bit of background about them and their business as well.
Yeah, I'll do that, Sophie. I'm Gail Power, Head of Delivery and Learning Experience at DPG. So DPG, similar probably in terms of age and existence from Virtual College. We've just over 25 years experience in the delivery of qualifications, and the qualifications we deliver are for leaders, managers, HR and L&D professionals. We deliver CIPD qualifications in level 3, 5 and 7, along with qualifications with the eLN at those levels as well. And we have over 20,000 learners come through our qualifications, an average of just under 2,000 learners a year. We work across the UK and we're noted for our blended delivery.
That's great, Gail. Just to give a quick introduction to myself, my name is Mark Harrison. I'm from Virtual College as well. I'm going to be acting as the sort of interviewer today, really, because I'm going to be asking the questions of both Sophie and Gary and Gail from DPG. So, Gary, do you just want to give a quick introduction to yourself and your role within DPG?
Sure, Mark. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Gary Norris. I'm the one of the online personal facilitators at DPG. So my role is to deliver the level 5 online HRM program that we use, that we're talking about today. I also get the opportunity to feed back into the evolution of the program. My background's in L&D, so different types of L&D experience from face-to-face classroom-based learning programs. Been involved in kind of e-learning right back since when e-learning was just simple PDFs uploaded and good old CD-ROMs. But now we're involved in a much more technologically advanced program now.
Fantastic. So, Sophie, do you want to give just a brief introduction about what we're going to start with now?
Yeah, definitely. So, as I mentioned before, during this webinar, we'll discuss with DPG, and it's more to get an understanding of the process we've gone through, converting a CIPD Level 5 Diploma in HR Management into eLearning. So we'll probably focus specifically on the following areas. So how we successfully address the challenges of converting a face-to-face qualification into eLearning, how we use contextualised scenarios to enable learners to apply their knowledge, and the impact that the online course has had and what learners think of it. So please feel free to ask any questions at the end.
So I think the first part is, obviously, we're going to talk now about why the course was developed, and a little bit more about the sort of understanding the diploma and the HR management level 5. So Gail, just from a DPG point of view, what made you sort of make the decision to choose the sort of to develop this online with Virtual College?
Well, we have a hugely successful blended learning HR qualification programme, and we're known in the marketplace as a quality HR training company. Our aim is to develop best-in-class HR professionals, so we're passionate about the profession. So their experience in learning is just as important as getting a qualification to us. So we've thought quite long and hard about what was the right programme and qualification to put online. We picked our level 5 HR qualification because we felt the market audience were the people who responded to that type of learning the best. So these are learners who are aspiring to be managers or are already at a managerial level. They're working in HR generally, and they're busy. They're out and about and dealing with people. So they need flexibility in their learning, and they're mature enough to manage their own time in learning. And that's why we went with this level 5 HR qualification for managers as our first programme to put online.
Fantastic. So you mentioned there that DPG have a reputation for developing excellent HR people. Was there ever a worry that taking the qualification online would mean that the learners may be less engaged, or that the quality of the HR people might suffer because of an online qualification as opposed to the traditional method?
Yes, definitely. My past has always been within L&D, and it was a key concern for myself. So for us, the trainer was key here. In the learning experience, we know that the trainer is the connection, and the communication they bring to the programme is vital. So we wanted to be able to replicate this online. And their role was as much important as the actual technology and the learning methods. So our model makes sure the connection is still there and there effectively. So trainers spend the time in virtual connections. It's better for them because they can work in their own time from their home, less travel for them, but it also means that they can run discussion groups, use our community and share ideas with others and cut repetition for themselves. So the communication and the connection is key in our programme.
That's great. And Gary, from your point of view, have you found that the quality of the people that are taking the course is the same? Is the standard slipped in any way from your point of view?
No, the standard of people taking the program, I would say, hasn't changed. People come along, they have different needs. One of the first questions I ask in one of the first webinars is to get a feel for things, is to ask people why they've chosen an online program. And you find out that the most popular answer there is to talk about the kind of flexibility and ease of access. And I don't think that really reflects on the quality of the person. People come along to learn, so that's the important thing.
That's fantastic. And Sophie, from a virtual college point of view, have you had previous experience with converting a face-to-face qualification program into e-learning before this particular project with DPG?
We have actually. We've offered blended solutions across a variety of qualifications and apprenticeships. We've done business improvement techniques, level 2 and 3, performing manufacturing operations level 2, customer service, business admin, both at level 2. we've done a lot of kind of qualification, digital learning, and we've done a huge amount of blended solutions. So this wasn't a new thing for us, but we've never actually done a CIPD qualification before.
Fantastic. And Gail, just going back to yourself just for a second, classroom-based learning has always had the additional benefit of social collaboration. I know you mentioned earlier that you use your social sort of chat to be able to do that. But peer-to-peer discussions is really important. So does the online qualification suffer in comparison to that sort of classroom-based learning? Does it miss that social peer-to-peer learning at all?
No, and in some ways it's actually even better. It's all about the blend and our delivery skills and the delivery skills of the trainers. We keep the person in the learning by the connection to the facilitator, using some key connectors such as our social media-based platform, discussion groups and discussion threads, and they're embedded into each learning chunk alongside some pre-booked webinars, so that at key points in the learning journey, there's an effective connection to enable people to collaborate. So it's very important we had to understand the technology that we needed to use and scope the programme with the learning elements that were required in it, and use the right technology to be able to deliver them. So we use virtual classrooms in the form of webinars planned at key points, and we record those and post them on the system afterwards. So even if a learner can't make a discussion or a webinar, they can nip back in and look at it whenever it suits them, and then join a discussion thread that's going on about that at a later stage.
Fantastic. And Gary, from your point of view, what's your experience been of the sort of social collaboration and peer-to-peer sort of learning? Have you got any examples where that's maybe taking place within the qualification?
Yeah, sure. I couldn't agree with Gail more there. I think if anything, the ease of access to forums and discussions is so much easier with an online program. I mean, in a blended classroom situation, great. You can talk to your peers that are sat with you or on the other side of the room, and then they may go away and engage on different platforms. But with the online program, it's inherent in the online program that we start off with that social learning online, and that of course can be many different platforms. It can be the platform we have at DPG Community. It can be platforms within the virtual college systems. It can be WhatsApp. It can be Twitter. It can be different social media settings, and that's helpful because then it's in line with whichever one that they actually choose to use. So it's their preference. So it works out a bit better there. Present, talking about examples I can give. We have one of the units that we run at the moment involves using information in HR. So the participants are involved in bringing together data and using that information and analysing that information. And one of the ways they're gathering information is they're sending surveys to each other and encouraging other participants and other members of our community to answer these surveys to build up data. So it works really well. It's, as I said, it's kind of inherent that, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do social learning. And people are online there all hours of the day. That's really valuable for the other time when I'm not online, because even if I'm not there, the participants are speaking to each other and finding out what's going on. That's really helpful. As you can imagine, people are just chatting away all day long.
Brilliant. And Gail, just one of the questions that we've had so far, just to confirm, this is 100% online, isn't it, this qualification?
Yes, it is. 100%. No face-to-face contact.
Fantastic. So when you were sort of putting this together, did you need to bring in any external support with regard to subject matter experts for the qualification, or is this something that you'd sort of thought about as part of preparing this?
Yeah, we do at DPG employ subject matter experts in our associate facilitator pool. So it's really important for us that our programmes are totally up to date and have, correct, accurate content. So we employ SMEs to actually provide content that's accurate, and that was vital within this programme as well.
Fantastic. Okay, just going to move on to the next slide, because I think what we'd like to do now is just talk about some of the challenges that were faced as part of this project. So, Sophie, just talk us through sort of the project and the challenge from a virtual college point of view.
Yeah, so, I mean, one of the main challenges with this training was the need to appeal to and engage to a wide range of learners from many sectors. So one of the most successful ideas we came up with was using scenarios throughout the content. So obviously there were learners from all different sectors. It was really important that the learning was relevant and realistic, so the learner could apply their knowledge in real life after completing the training. So it was really important for us to understand all of the learning outcomes needed from the training and the audience who'd be taking the qualification. From our experience, I'd say, developing training which needs to impart knowledge and implement behaviour change, scenarios can be really effective, but we definitely needed to think of using these in an appropriate and relevant way. We actually came up with the idea of a business district, where there are loads of different types of organisations on a business park. So there's retail, there's corporates, there are manufacturers, and throughout the courses, the learner progresses through the different organisations and experiences different challenges which they're guided and challenged on. These scenarios are realistic and contextualised, so the learners can relate to them easily, whatever area or sector they specialise in. So it means that as well as learning the knowledge needed, they'll also be able to apply this in a real world situation, which was really key for this kind of training. So we worked really closely with DPG to create authentic situations and realistic challenges and questioning. So, I mean, in my opinion, and for the learners as well, the scenarios are really effective because they allow the learners to practice in a safe environment and learn from the mistakes.
And Gail, has that come across from your point of view as well? Have the learners sort of given feedback on the sort of scenario-based training?
Yeah, it is one of the things they do love about the programme. It's in a safe environment, they're able to act as a HR professional and test out their knowledge and apply it so that they, when they're going back to their employers, they've had an experience that they can relate to and learn from.
Fantastic. So obviously looking at that, one of the major challenges must have been creating the content for the qualification. From a DPG point of view, is that a lengthy process, and just how involved were DPG in the development of that particular course and the qualification?
Yeah, it was quite lengthy, to be honest, but it was valuable, the time we spent on it, because the content had to be right. It was important that Virtual College had to understand our marketplace and our learners. So it was very much a joint project in the terms of the planning and the design. We had to appoint a project manager who virtually worked full time for 12 months. And we scoped together. We had regular reviews and total open and honest communication with Virtual College on the content development.
Fantastic. And is there ever a worry that the training's just a little bit too long for the learner because it's online?
No, actually, we give the flexibility with this programme. We mapped out a suggested timeline of 10 months, but gave flexibility for individuals to complete at their own pace so that they can complete within 2 years from registration. And so far, we've had one person completing 4 months. We've had 42 people register for the 10 months and 10 completing the time frames. And the rest have decided to take longer and to take up to the 2 years. So we have to manage this, and we have to put in place processes and systems so that we can keep in communication and contact with each learner. And everything's recorded so that they can go back in when they want to and still learn and work at their own place. So it's ideal, really.
Fantastic. And just very quickly, how do learners go about joining the programme? Do they join in cohorts, or can they come on at any point?
Yeah, we do have a monthly start date for a programme. So, but we allow people to sign up for that programme up to 2 weeks after the start, because they can pick up anything they've missed because it's been pre-recorded.
Fantastic. And Gary, from your point of view, where you What's the sort of feedback from a learner point of view? Are they finding that the process is easy to follow? Does it take too long?
No, excuse me, my voice went there. As Gail said, we have people that are going through the program relatively quickly. We have people that are taking that a little bit longer because, you know, life has a way of throwing things in your path. So the program allows people to take that into account and go through the program at their own pace. The feedback we get is great. Just listening to what Gail said there, yeah, just underline that I'm often having chats with our participants who are telling me that they're actually able to use what they've learned in real life situations, which is the key in terms of you know, the L&D professionals among us will know what I'm about to talk about is you know, that we will give our participants a certain amount of knowledge and understanding via the text, via the videos, via the audio, whichever. But the kind of holy grail in there is using the information to see how it works. That safe environment Gail was talking about, and that's what the scenarios enable us to do. Whether you subscribe to maybe Bloom's taxonomy or experiential learning, whichever one. These participants get to actually use and feel and see what it's like to use the information that they've learned. And if it works, brilliant. If maybe there's a better way of doing it, they get some feedback from the scenarios, so that when it comes to actually do it in the real life, they've got a better understanding of what to expect. And this is helping our participants with their careers as well. They're telling me that when they go and talk to their line manager and performance reviews and so on, and develop personal learning plans, they've got a better understanding of where they need to be, where they want to be. So, yeah, great all-around package.
Fantastic. And Gail, obviously we're talking about challenges. Was there a worry that there'll be a huge increase in, you know, learner support, queries, how to do things? So you sort of taking it from face-to-face online. Was that a challenge and a worry that you had when putting this together?
Yes, it was really that we did worry that people would have lots of questions and support queries, particularly about the technology, but that's where the partnership started to come in again. Virtual College help us by taking all the technical queries, which a lot of the time are the main queries that the learners have. Once they've got used to the system, then they tend to decrease. And then we also use other forms of communication to help field support and queries from the facilitator. So we use our DPG community and our discussion groups on the system to make them manageable. So if somebody's got a query or has some sort of support that they want answered, we pop that up so that somebody else can easily see what the response was. And then they may not need to ask and come and need a personal contact.
Brilliant. That sounds like the partnership's working really quite nicely then in that way.
Yes, certainly.
Good. And just one last thing that I sort of want to pick up on. The role of the tutor seems to differ with online learning. As one of the challenges, did you notice that there was going to be more of a reliance on the role, and has it changed much from what you originally envisaged it might be?
Yeah, it certainly did. From our point of view, DPG tend not to employ our own tutors because we need people with subject matter expertise. So we use associates. But with this program, we felt that the tutor was so vital in actually making sure the connection was there with the learners and be there to support the learners online. So we had to make sure that we employed the people with the right knowledge, skills, abilities and behaviours. So we clearly scoped out a very, very specific role for the facilitator in the project planning. And then we recruited people towards that role. And it was really important that it was somebody who could work in the online environment. A lot of our previous facilitators were recruited because of their face-to-face delivery skills and because they liked that face-to-face delivery. So in this, we had to test out how somebody would work in an online environment, how they'd come across, did they have the right skills, not just and could they use the technology and develop their skills. So yeah, it was a vital role, and we scoped it out quite I think quite clearly and specifically, and recruited to that role because it is so key.
And Gary, I suppose, as one of the people that were recruited to do the role, how have you found that sort of change? You know, we often call people now tutors, but do you find yourself more of a facilitator here?
Yeah, the job title has that I have has facilitator in that, and I kind of like to sort of operate with that in mind, that my job role is facilitator, in that I try and show people where the learning is, how to get to their learning. You know, I'm not a kind of lecturer, I'm not a teacher as such. I'm trying to empower people to find that learning and to know when they're on the right path, and ideally to know when they've come off track, so they can then approach me and then I'll help them. And I think as a big part of that is to foster that environment where they know they can ask if they've got any questions. You tend to have a sort of wide spectrum of people come on the program, right from people that are really kind of into their tech, that want to press buttons and want to do things and want to see how things work, right to the other end of the spectrum where people, they came to the program for the flexibility, but they're not really sure with what to press and what to do. So it's about kind of enabling a friendly space where there's a conversation where I can find out which end the people are coming from, to make sure that they get what they want and make sure they get along with the program. From my point of view, it's great because I get different kinds of technologies to get involved in, and it gives me learning, it gives me space for development in my role to keep trying out different pieces of technology. I work from home, work-life balance is great. Yeah, I'm very happy with how it all works.
Brilliant. So, on screen at the moment. Sorry, Gail. Sorry, Gail.
Gail.
I was going to add to it, that was the other thing. It was around the hours of work as well that I just wanted to add in there. You know, with this type of learning, it's not necessarily somebody that's coming to do their learning in a 9-to-5 workshop situation. They've done it because they want to work flexibly. So key for the facilitator or the tutor is the fact that they will probably be working different hours. So, you know, Gary would probably agree with me here. He works afternoons and evenings. And that suits him. So it's key when we were recruiting that we looked at that sort of learning patterns and made that clear to the tutor. With weekend working as well coming in here.
Fantastic. That's great. Well, obviously, that's brilliant for anybody that's considering sort of taking a qualification online, because one of the things that they will need to do is be able to support their learners. So hopefully the people that are listening to the webinar will have taken a lot of that on board here. What we're looking at now on screen is an example of one of the pieces of content that sits within the business district. So Sophie, do you want to just talk through this with us?
Yeah, definitely. I think it would help for us to actually view some of the content, but before we do that, I'll just give you an overview of what you'll see in the next minute or so. As I mentioned before, we developed a business district to allow learners to experience and to practice different contextualized challenges in a realistic and safe environment. So the screen that you can see now is one of the organisations within this business district, called Baker's Department Store. So the learner navigates their way through the store to discover and learn more about reward management. The learner is given an overview of the principle before they're tested on the knowledge. And the learner's knowledge is actually tested almost immediately, with questions increasing in complexity. So if a question is answered incorrectly twice, the learner is encouraged to view the correct answer, where all the possible answers are revealed with information explaining each one. You'll see as well that there are different avatars for different parts of the store who are introduced to the learner to give a personal touch. Each of the avatars has a different function within the store and has different issues which they need to help the learner with. All of the courses are fully narrated, but for the purpose of today, we have removed the sound, and also, as you can see, we've sped it up as well. But this should give you an idea of the type of content and the challenges that are within these courses.
So, as Sophie said there, this content has been speeded up. It doesn't normally go through at this speed, and we would always recommend that people don't go through. But it's just to give people an idea of sort of what the content looks like. So I'm just going to let this play out for a second. It's about a minute or so. But Gail, just coming back to you, looking at sort of the baker's apartment store, is this what you envisaged when you sort of first started going down this route?
Oh gosh, is it what I envisioned? Yes and no, I suppose. I didn't think we'd get as far as this in the interactivity and the flexibility of the learning. So it's actually much more and a greater program than I thought we could do, which is brilliant.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's always good to hear. So I'm just going to flip on to the next slide now, which is coming. My apologies.
Well, let me take over, Mark, because I'll just explain that in the next kind of screen recording, we'll just see a different area of the business district. So in Hell's Kitchen, the learner navigates their way through the restaurants and their issues around employment law. One of the issues that needs investigating is where the head chef has made headlines on social media following revelations from an ex-employee. So the learner has to check out the current HR processes and ensure that they're compliant. The learner also explores management training all through the meeting current employees of Hell's Kitchen. So you can see some similarities with the previous module that I showed you. I mean, these extracts from the content show the importance of engaging the learner through realistic and immersive scenarios where they learn key information by doing. By helping staff members in different organisations, it's easy for the learner to understand how the principles apply in real life situations, whichever sector or area they work in. You can also see that we chose a graphical clean style for all of the modules so that we're able to show many different roles and situations easily. I guess for this training, we felt a photographic style might limit us, as well as dating a bit quicker than a graphical design.
And Gary, just a quick one for you. What's sort of the learner feedback been on the scenarios? Are they engaged with it like we expect them to be?
Yeah, they definitely do that. I mean, kind of building on what I've said previously, it's that link between the academic and the practical that I think these scenarios help to build. You know, you've got participants that go through this situation and in the online context that we can see in front of us, and then when it comes up in real life, if somebody comes to them with this question and says, right, I've got some questions about something that's gone on social media, the learner's in a position where they can go, I've got some experience of what to do here. So they're that little bit more warm to those situations. So they definitely enjoy it. Becky there, you can see on screen, she's got a Twitter account, so she tweets sometimes. So, you know, we try and bring it to life so she can congratulate participants when they've hit certain milestones, things like that. Yeah, it all integrates really well.
Fantastic. So just moving on to the impact, Gary, from your point of view, the changes from the previous delivery model, do you want to just talk us through that a little bit and what the impact has been on sort of your particular role, taking this from face-to-face into a purely online, qualification?
I think probably it's better to Gail to talk about that one because she was more instrumental in the actual change. My job is mainly been is the online one. So can I pass that on to you, Gail? Is that right?
Yeah, certainly. It has had a huge impact. It's enabled us to extend our delivery, and what I mean by extend is actually to go outside the UK. So we now can take learners onto this programme who live abroad, which we couldn't do before. Well, we could, but it was very costly, and they can access this learning. So it's opened up new markets for us. It's also had a huge impact in terms of the cost of the programme. You know, with the blended learning, we have a really huge cost in the terms of facilitator travel and venues, where the online learning has enabled us to cut those costs. So we actually get a much better profit margin on this programme, which really pleases the board. We actually haven't felt as well that the experience so far, that the learning experience is any less than the blended programme. I think all the time and effort that we have put in with the technology, the business district that you've just seen, and the facilitator is really showing that we've actually made a fantastic programme which is much more cost effective and is actually getting DPG out into new markets.
Fantastic. And has the project delivered what you expected, or did it provide any challenges that you hadn't planned for?
Yes and no, to be quite honest. It's delivered far more in terms of replicating a great learning experience, and the learner feedback is confirming that for me, which is brilliant. Much better than I ever thought it could be. But then on the other side, it also took much longer than I thought it would to get everything designed and working, particularly on the assessment side. You know, this is a qualification, and we needed to make sure that we could effectively assess learners in it, and the development of that system for accessing assessments, marking assessments, tracking learners, progress in assessments took much longer than we thought to actually design and get implemented.
Great. So I suppose if you're looking to do something like this again, that's one of the challenges that you take on board next time, and bear that in mind, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, huge learning curve there.
Fantastic. And I suppose just touching on that, is this something that DPG would look to do again, bearing in mind all the challenges that you faced and what it's delivered?
Yeah, definitely. We've learnt so much from the development of this with Virtual College, and we do intend to put other programmes online, but we'll probably do the same as we've done. Yeah, well, I know we will. Is that we'll pick the right qualification and the right level from our suite of qualifications. So we're spending a bit of time now looking at which programme would be the next one to go online.
Fantastic. What I just wanted to look at next is the sort of the learner feedback. There's a few examples on screen now for people to sort of have a look over. But Gary, would you mind just sort of from your point of view, you know, you're the one that's probably interacting most with the learners. Just give us what you feel the learners are taking out of this based on some of the feedback that you've received.
Yeah, okay. What do we have on the screen? People talking about the functions. So I guess we can allude to they may be talking about the different types of way they can interact with the program and with the information on screen. People seem really happy with that. I mean, in a learning and development scenario, of course, we have to take into account that people might have different sort of learning styles. Yeah, they might prefer text, they might prefer video, they might want to speak to me over the phone, they might want to speak to me on email, and that's something that the kind of online learning definitely gives us. It gives us those little different channels that people can pick and choose from. We've got people mentioning the speed at which they can go through the program there. So that's obviously key. I think we've already touched on that. The flexibility, yeah, flexibility is great. People can work around work. So we have some people that are on our program who are given time each week to work on their program, actually part of their working day, and sometimes that's even funded by their organisation as well. But the program already also works for people that are fitting the study around their working lives, so they're doing it in the evenings, as Gail mentioned, at the weekends. So that flexibility is there, and that flexibility is key. If somebody needs to take a little bit of a hiatus from the program for a couple of months, they get to do that. That functionality is there. We have people that all of a sudden find themselves where they're in a busy period at work, or maybe even been made redundant at work, so they've got a lot of time to focus on the program, so they get to concentrate and go at their own pace. So yeah, the experience really is it's just working across such a sort of range of needs which I think is the beauty of online learning. It's always there when people need it, and they just need to, you know, plug in a keyboard, pick up the phone to get in touch with one of us to make sure they're on the right track.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds as though, you know, the learner feedback's been generally very, very good. So just coming on to the conclusion, Sophie, looking at it from a virtual college point of view, do you just want to take us through the sort of the conclusions that we've come to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one of the main learnings or the main points for us is to be learner focused. So always remember that this is learning undertaken often in the learner's free time, and understand exactly what they need and want to get out of this. So it's really important to take time to really understand the audience and to come up with a solution that's appropriate to all of that. To think about the whole solution, so not just how it will look, but how it will be used and the end-to-end process for a learner. So because this is a qualification, the timescales for completion are longer than standard e-learning course, which means that it's crucial that the learner is engaged throughout the whole time. So that means understanding the delivery of the final training, so how the e-learning will sit with the webinars and the tutor interaction, and just making sure that they complement each other. The other point is working in partnership and really learning from each other. So remembering that we can't be experts in every area, and that although Virtual College are the learning experts, we really needed DPG to be the subject matter expert on the content and the qualification itself. And I think without the continuous collaboration with DPG, we could never have delivered this whole content and the qualification that we have done. And I guess the last point, continuous improvement. So being ready to welcome learner feedback and understanding that the final product may need tweaks and changes over time. And I think from Virtual College's point of view, the project has been a real success. We've had a brilliant time coming on this journey with DPG, and we look forward to many more opportunities.
Fantastic. And Gail, do you want to just sum up in conclusion from a DPG point of view?
Yeah, I think totally agree with Sophie there that the learner has to be the key in this. You've got to think of your learner. You know, they're your repeat business, so their experience on the programme is vital. So you've got to look at how will they start it, progress through it to achieve the qualification. And, you know, that's got to be the crux of it, and then work in partnership and look to continually improve. Yeah, definitely. You know, what we started out with wasn't what we ended up with, but that was because we thought about the learner. And I think the results at the moment are showing us we made the right choice there.
Fantastic. So I just want to say a big thank you to the eLN for hosting this for us. And there's been a few questions that have sort of come in while we've been going through. So Gail, if you don't mind, I'll just put the first one to you. So someone's asked, in terms of delivery cost, how does online delivery compare to traditional methods?
It's huge, actually, a difference in terms of cost of sale and profit margin now. With just one person on an online program, we can make 70% profit. We can't afford to run a branded program with one person on it. We'd probably make 100% loss, if not even more, if we could. Plus, the activities don't work in a blended program with one person, so it's much more cost effective for us, which, you know, is key.
Yeah, so I suppose to sum up that, it's obviously a lot more cost effective, and actually I suppose it makes it more accessible because people can join, whereas they would normally have to wait for a cohort.
Yeah,
excellent.
Definitely, yeah. Easy access.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Sophie, one here for Virtual College. From a technical point of view, how does the learner access the training, and how is this hosted online?
So Virtual College have our proprietary LMS, and the content is actually hosted on that. It's called Enable. As Gail mentioned previously, we sought the support for all of the learners on that. So they'll get a login for the LMS and they easily access the content through there.
Excellent. There's another question here that sort of picks up on one of the things you mentioned earlier, Gail, about being assessed. They've asked, how does it work as a qualification? Are the learners assessed online?
Yeah, it is a qualification they're working through, it's the CIPD qualification. In this qualification, there aren't any formal sort of exams. It's all assessed through activities. So we spent quite a bit of time working with Virtual College on the assessment system. We had to sit down, think, what does it need to do? How can we work it? For example, we've got things like second marking that comes into place here before, so grades can't be released before that has taken place. So we developed assignments which are not exam based, very much like an online portfolio approach. So once the assignment is accessed, completed, uploaded, our assessors then go into the system, access it and mark it, give feedback online. And our IVs can go in and sample it as well. So it makes the assessment of the qualification quite easy, because you can access things immediately and you can access things remotely. So assessors aren't carting around big portfolios as they used to do. They're actually accessing everything online, and everything is stored online.
Just to pick up on that, how are these submissions assessed? Do you use external facilitators to do that?
Yes, we do. We use remote assessors. So it also helps in terms of the accuracy of their assessment and the fairness of assessment. You know, that they don't know these learners, so they are only judging on what they have actually submitted. So it's far more consistent in the assessment.
Fantastic. And one last question that's come in, just around the sort of the qualification. They've said, is the qualification similar to new apprenticeship standards in that a final endpoint assessment interview is required? Do you do anything like that towards the end?
No, in this qualification we don't need an endpoint assessment. It isn't a requirement. However, if we did need to, the system would support that. We could run that.
That's fantastic. Well, that's all the questions that we've got. So, Gail, Gary, thank you very much for your time. And hopefully people listening to the webinar will have taken something away from this, whether they're actually considering taking a qualification online or whether this is just something that they've tuned into to sort of find out how that challenge was addressed. But yeah, thank you very much. And we'll end the webinar there.